Welcome to Explorer Classroom. My name is Kip Hotman, and I'm so glad you are joining us today. At National Geographic, we know the power of exploration, wonder, and storytelling can change the world. This Explorer Classroom YouTube show connects students around the world with our National Geographic Explorers for short lessons and time for your questions. Today, our explorer is Alyea Pierce. Alyea is an award-winning author, educator, international speaker, and performance poet. She knows that some communities, such as Black and Caribbean American communities, have incredible and complex stories that deserve to be written down and shared. However, these stories have yet to be written down. She is the kind of storyteller who listens to stories and helps untold stories become told. Alyea does not always work alone. Sometimes she does research with a team and puts stories into different forms, such as poetry performance, a film, or a podcast. Today, Alyea is going to share about the importance of oral storytelling. Before we get into today's lesson, let's welcome our viewers who registered in advance and join us today from around the globe. Our shout outs for today's episode go to Lorlea Middle School, Corvallis School District 509J, Colegio Hebreo Monte Sinai, Broward Virtual School, March Academy, Cool School, Hutchings Museum Institute, V's Village Summer Enrichment Project, Isla I Hot Rural School, IBIME Montes Elementary School, Toluca Lake Elementary School, North Kipling Junior Middle School, Spruce Elementary School, the Metzger family, and all our homeschools out there. We are thrilled to have you all here. And with that, let's get this Explorer Classroom started. It's time to turn it over to Alyea to share all about telling untold stories. Take it away, Alyea.
Hi, all. Thank you, Kip. I'm so happy to be here with my Explorer friends. Give me one moment as I share my screen with you all so you could see my presentation that I worked so hard on. All right. Here we go. Okay. So hello again. As Kip said, my name is Alyea Pierce. I'm a National Geographic explorer and poet. And when we think of poetry, you may see a poem written down on a piece of paper or in a book, or you may actually hear a poem being read out loud. So you're listening, right? And when we hear a poem being read out loud, that is called spoken word. I love to write my poetry down on a piece of paper. Trust me, I love it. But I also love to perform my spoken word out loud to an audience like yourselves. So today, I'm actually going to do a little challenge with you all. I'm going to actually perform a spoken word piece before we say goodbye today. But I'm going to write it while we are hanging out right now. And I need help from all of you, my brilliant friends. I want to write a poem about mountains. So I want to write a poem about mountains, and I need help thinking about a few words. So could everyone take maybe like 30 seconds to drop a word in the chat box that reminds them of the mountains? Okay. So anything that reminds you of the mountains, we're going to give you 30 seconds. All right. I'm a fast counter. All right. All right. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Time is up. And if you have any other ideas or words that come to your mind, feel free to keep adding it to the chat box, all right? And remember, we're thinking about mountains. So it could be colors, it could be what you see, what you feel, anything of that nature. And we will come back to that at the end when I come up with a poem. So I know you're probably wondering, how is Alyea going to write a poem that quickly, right? So let's take a few steps back. What is spoken word? Spoken word is an art form. It is performed in a very, very special way. Spoken word is a form of storytelling that is actually one of the most original forms of oral traditions within African and indigenous, so native cultures. So spoken word has actually grown from the oral tradition, so oral storytelling. And that's what we're talking about today, the power of oral storytelling. It is a way of expressing one's heritage. So that might be a part of one's family history. Maybe it's the things that we practice that are traditional to us. That could be someone's heritage. Spoken word is a way of remembering people, our communities, even past events. And it's really cool because it's an opportunity for those who may not have had a chance to use their voice and speak, to actually be able to speak in spaces and be heard, whether it's in political spaces, whether it's in church spaces and religious spaces, or even at home in a living room. So one can actually improvise their spoken word. Now, improvising, that's a big word that I didn't learn until I was actually in band. So when I learned how to play the saxophone, that's when I learned what the word improvise means. And it's actually about, improvise means without preparation. It means creating or performing spontaneously, kind of just coming up with something with what is readily available to us all. And so when it comes to spoken word, in this oral tradition, what makes it unique is that we can have an audience. So like this picture, there's a microphone, and as you see in the back, they're a little blurry, it's an audience. So whether that audience is one person or 100,000 people, it's about this engagement between the storyteller and the listener. So Alyea right now is talking and telling you things, and all of you who are listening to me. So we are now building a connection that no one else has. And that is the idea of spoken word and oral storytelling. It's this combination between theater, hip hop. So if anybody likes rap music, hip hop music, that is in spoken word. It includes public speaking. It includes performance. Some poets I've even seen include song and dance. So they're moving and doing all these cool things while they're performing their spoken word. So for me, oral storytelling connects to my culture. I am Caribbean American, which means my family comes from the Caribbean. My mom was born in Trinidad and Tobago, and my dad was born in Jamaica. So my older brothers and I, we are the first to be born in America. And so this photo here represents my Trinidad and Tobago culture and heritage. This character is the Puro Grenade, and Mr. Felix Edinburgh is representing this character. And this young character in its costume wears a multicolored costume. He's a very learned scholar, so very intelligent, very knowledgeable. And what he does is he comes out and performs spoken word to an extent. He performs oral storytelling. And it's actually, he tells stories and he's spelling words as he's doing it. I know, even for me, I was like, what does this mean? And I didn't understand it until I listened to it. So maybe next time we'll find a video and we could play that for you. But for now, we're going to continue on. So with oral storytelling, my family would get together every year, and every time they get together, they're dancing and they're listening to music and they're eating. And most importantly, they're telling stories. And what I realized was that a lot of my older aunts and uncles and even my grandparents were the ones who knew these stories. But sadly, they can get forgotten as time passes. So I listened to these incredibly rich and diverse oral stories that hold our identity, that hold lessons. Maybe they hold cooking instructions, as well as how our ancestors maybe achieved freedom. I listen to all of that and I write that down. That is my job. So similar to kind of a construction worker, as a spoken word poet, I have a toolbox as well that I carry around when I am on a writer's retreat, or I am maybe exploring the world. But most importantly, I never leave home without a pen. So as you see here, I might have a candle that smells good. I have headphones so I can listen to my music and get inspired. I have my glasses. I have a notebook, of course, and I have some books that inspire me, right? So that's my toolkit that I carry, but I never leave home without a pen. Because if you don't have a pen, unfortunately, stories will be lost. This pen, although looks ordinary, this pen is my superpower, because without it, again, stories will be lost. And what I love to say when it comes to spoken word is that sometimes I work by myself. Sometimes I work with my family and friends who are really close to me. And some other times I work with my team. And they can also be my friends and family too. But this is my friend, Tara Roberts. Tara, as you can see, snorkels. So Tara goes deep, deep, deep underwater to look for things. Some things she may find are fish, maybe shells, maybe even sharks. But something else she may find are buried shipwrecks. Buried shipwrecks from hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years ago. So many of these shipwrecks maybe carried glass beads that they would trade with another person in another country. Some of them maybe had cannons for protection. And others had iron bars that would help balance out the ship with the ocean waves, right? So that the ship wouldn't tip over. There's this balancing with these giant, giant iron bars. And also some of these ships carried people who happened to be captured and taken from their homes in Africa and so many more places. Now, this time in history is often referred to as slavery, and this specific part was the transatlantic slave trade. So it was going across the Atlantic Ocean. And this is a time in history that we do not ever, ever, ever want to happen again. We do not want this time to be repeated because every person matters and every one of us deserves to be treated with respect, right? So what we often forget about these people were that they were just like you and me. They had dreams of becoming teachers and engineers and explorers and cooks and all of these amazing things. And they had stories. They were storytellers. So this time in history, what is really interesting about it, although it was very difficult, very strenuous, and a horrific time in history, the experience of slavery actually enhanced oral storytelling for the Africans and then their African-American born children. Telling stories is one of the few ways they were able to stay connected. They were able to communicate. They were able to share stories about Africa and their homeland, and also share stories about how we can resist and maintain hope during this horrific time. And the storyteller during this period was an important person in the community. They were extremely essential to the community because they could transform listeners by sharing values and customs and, like we said earlier, their heritage, so that stories are continuously being passed down generation to generation. And so now in 2022, right, we're in 2022 now, since a lot of these people can no longer tell their stories for themselves, I study, I listen, most importantly, and I really work together with my friend Tara to help share these stories. And Tara and I really aim to be connectors, and poets are connectors. We love stories, we love to connect people. And similar to when you think of the movie Encanto, if you've seen it, raise your hand. Encanto, people, yeah. It's an amazing movie. Nice, glad you've seen it. And if you haven't, that's okay. But what is so important about that movie was that it was so important to share their stories and remember their stories and remember tradition, because just like how the tradition of the family was everyone gets a power, everyone gets a party, everyone gets their own room that represents them. And if you haven't seen it, don't worry, I did not give you too many secrets. I did not tell you the story of the movie, but their tradition mattered. And it was important to the family to keep that tradition alive. So we want to keep the tradition of oral storytelling alive. It is so important. And I need all of your help. So all of you have a pen or pencil, right? Everyone must have a pen or pencil. Okay, if you don't, do you have a phone? If you have a phone, okay, you have a phone. Nice, great. So you can take notes on your phone. You can take notes with a pen or pencil and use paper, whatever it is that you have. remember to listen. Remember to observe the surroundings around you. Listen to your parents, your guardians, your siblings, maybe your grandparents. What are the stories that they tell? What are the recipes that we cook? All of these things are a part of oral storytelling. And I know that you all are the amazing explorers we need in our life today. And you will help really help us become even greater listeners and storytellers. So you all are taking the first step of becoming an amazing poet. So just know that y'all are already there. You're already amazing poets. So I just wanted to share that with you, and remember that you all are explorers and you got it. All right. So now that we're nearing the end of my presentation, as I promised for this big challenge, I'm going to come up with a poem about mountains that I see that you all had some amazing words for. Okay, so what's really cool about this is I'm going to do something called improvising, which I kind of explained earlier, right? I'm going to kind of come up with it without preparation. So I have not seen these words and we're going to try and come up with a poem. So please cheer me on during this. And if you hear your word, feel free to cheer for yourself. But I'm going to try and say everyone's word if I can. All right. So let's see. Let me write down some of these words real quick. All right. Okay. Ooh, majestic. I see rocks. I see plants. Snow, ice, rugged. Ooh. Ooh, these are good. Okay, let's see some other ones. Let's hear birds, mountain lions. Ooh, a peak. Moss, tall, wildlife, granite. Ooh, these are really good. Oh, wow. How am I going to include this? Okay, wildlife. Okay, all right, let's try it. Remember, please cheer me on. Oh, some more. Craggy, steep, bleak, scared, desolate, and lonely. Ooh, ooh, this is good. This can go many ways. All right. So I'm gonna change explorers, climb. Okay, let's try it. Wish me luck, y'all. All right. So let me keep the chat open. So a blanket of green rolls over the mountain shoulder. Sun blooms as birds sing and soar through treetops, through craggy treetops. Rainwater wades at the bottom of the trunk's feet. Lone explorers climb the desolate north through the breezing winds and the majestic rocks to reach the top of their adventure as they make sure not to run into any mountain lions. And they watch the world at the top. That's as best as I can do, y'all. All right, if you like it, snap for me. I really tried. So poets in poetry, we snap. So you can clap or you can snap, all right? Thank you so much. Those were amazing words. You really threw me for a loop there, y'all. I was struggling, but those were great words. And if I did not put them in this poem, trust me, I'm writing them down so I can use them in a poem later on that I write, because I'm always writing poems, all right? Thank you so much. Kip, I'm gonna throw it back to you.
Alyea, it's been such a pleasure to spend time with you today and hear your story and
Thank you.
understand more about the amazing work that you're leading. We have one final question, which is serves as a call to action for all of our viewers. And we're curious, how can we take on your mission and tell stories?
Absolutely. I think this goes back to what I said earlier, right? Is it comes down to listening, To be an explorer, which you all already know because you all are explorers, the first step is listening. The next step is observing all around you, and then just taking notes, asking questions. So if you have a question to your parent or your grandparent or a guardian or a sibling, and you want to know, why do we do things this way? Why do we cook like this? Why do we use these certain plants? Why do we tell these specific stories about our family? Why do we do this type of movement or dance? All of those questions are part of oral storytelling. And the first step is listening, observing, and asking the questions. And then, of course, as a poet always does, they write that down. So I think that's how you can definitely keep the mission alive and be the best explorer you can be.
Friends, you heard it right here on Explorer Classroom. Listen, observe, and ask questions. Thank you to Alyea and to all the students and teachers out there. Explorer Classroom is nearing the end of our school year with only one episode left. Tune in next Monday, June the 6th at 2 p.m. Eastern for a special finale event live from Explorers Festival at the National Geographic headquarters in DC, featuring 3 explorers, Bob Ballard, Carlos Velasco, and K.M. Reyes. You can register your student group for a shout out during the event and a chance to be on screen at natgeoed.org/Explorer Classroom. Have a great day, everyone. Stay curious and keep exploring. And a happy Pride Month from all of us here at Explorer Classroom.